Good morning, YouTube. It's Felicia. Yeah. Good morning, YouTube. It's Felicia, your girl from Feast, Sow, and Peace. I'm sorry about the phone. My tablet is completely full, and I've got to go to YouTube University to figure out how to get those videos off my tablet so I can free up some space again, which is really terrible. But I'm doing this, and then I didn't bring my other camera stuff, so I'm up at the she shed. I didn't bring my other stand, so this one is hooked to my laptop, but you have a better angle of the sewing machine. I'm going to do my 30-minute sew. I'm working on the bottom part of N6798. So this to do the pants part, the shorts. So I will set the timer, and we'll go back to listening to my Bible stories later. Sorry, it's a update on my tablet I need to do, but I want timer. We will go with the 30 minutes.
Those 30 towns are still called the settlements of Jair. When he died, he was buried in the town of Kamon. Before long, the Israelites began disobeying the Lord by worshipping Baal, Astarte and gods from Syria, Sidon, Moab, Ammon, and Philistia. The Lord was angry with Israel and decided to let Philistia and Ammon conquer them. So the same year that Jair died, Israel's army was crushed by these two nations. For 18 years, Ammon was cruel to the Israelites who lived in Gilead, the region east of the Jordan River that had once belonged to the Amorites. Then the Ammonites began crossing the Jordan and attacking the tribes of Judah, Benjamin, and Ephraim. Life was miserable for the Israelites. They begged the Lord for help and confessed, "We were unfaithful to you, our Lord. We stopped worshiping you and started worshiping idols of Baal." The Lord answered, "In the past, when you came crying to me for help, I rescued you. At one time or another, I've rescued you from the Egyptians, the Amorites, the Ammonites, the Philistines, the Sidonians, the Amalekites, and the Maonites. But I'm not going to rescue you anymore. You've left me and gone off to worship other gods. If you're in such big trouble, go and cry to them for help." "We have been unfaithful to you," the Israelites admitted. "If we must be punished, do it yourself. But please rescue us from the Ammonites." Then the Israelites got rid of the idols of the foreign gods, and they began worshiping only the Lord. Finally, there came a time when the Lord could no longer stand to see them suffer. The rulers of Ammon called their soldiers together and led them to Gilead, where they set up camp. The Israelites gathered at Mizpah and set up camp there. The leaders of Gilead asked each other, "Who can lead an attack on the Ammonites?" Then they agreed, "If we find someone who can lead the attack, we'll make him the ruler of Gilead." The leaders of the Gilead clan decided to ask a brave warrior named Jephthah, son of Gilead, to lead the attack against the Ammonites. Even though Jephthah belonged to the Gilead clan, he had earlier been forced to leave the region where they had lived. Jephthah was the son of a prostitute, but his half-brothers were the sons of his father's wife. His half-brothers, ashamed of him, drove him out of their family so he wouldn't share in their father's inheritance. Cast out, Jephthah fled to the land of Tob, where he gathered a band of followers, adventurers who rallied around him. Years passed, and trouble came upon Israel. The Ammonites waged war against Gilead, and the elders, desperate for a leader, remembered Jephthah's strength. They journeyed to Tob and pleaded with him to return and lead them into battle. Jephthah questioned their motives. "Didn't you hate me and drive me away? Why come to me now in your time of trouble?" But the elders insisted, promising to make him their head if he would deliver them. Jephthah agreed and returned to Mizpah as their commander and leader. Before going to war, Jephthah tried peace first. He sent messengers to the king of Ammon, asking why he attacked Israel. The king claimed Israel had stolen his lands when coming out of Egypt. But Jephthah responded with a long message. recounting Israel's journey through the wilderness. He explained how Israel had taken land not from the Ammonites, but from the Amorites, after being refused passage. He declared that Israel had possessed the land for hundreds of years and had no reason to give it up. Yet the king of Ammon ignored Jephthah's words. Then the Spirit of the Lord came upon Jephthah. As he prepared for battle, he made a solemn vow to God. If you give the Ammonites into my hands, whatever comes out of the door of my house to meet me when I return in triumph will be the Lord's, and I will sacrifice it as a burnt offering. Jephthah went to war and crushed the Ammonites, striking them down from city to city. Israel was saved, and Jephthah returned home victorious. But as he approached his house, joy turned to horror. The first to come dancing out to greet him was his only child, his beloved daughter, playing a tambourine and rejoicing at his victory. "Oh no," Jephthah cried. Then he tore his clothes in sorrow and said to his daughter, "I made a sacred promise to the Lord, and I must keep it. Your coming out to meet me has broken my heart." "Father," she said, "you made a sacred promise to the Lord, and he let you defeat the Ammonites. Now you must do what you promised, even if it means I must die. But first, please let me spend 2 months wandering in the hill country with my friends. We will cry together because I can never get married and have children." "Yes, you may have 2 months," Jephthah said. She and some other girls left, and for 2 months they wandered in the hill country, crying because she could never get married and have children. Then she went back to her father. He did what he had promised, and she never returned. After Jephthah's victory, the men of Ephraim angrily accused him of leaving them out of the fight and threatened to burn his house down. Jephthah replied that he'd called them, but they didn't come, so he fought the Ammonites himself. A battle broke out between Jephthah's Gileadites and the Ephraimites. The Gileadites seized the Jordan River crossings and used a test word, Shibboleth, to catch fleeing Ephraimites, who mispronounced it as Sibboleth. Because of this, 42,000 Ephraimites were killed. Jephthah ruled Israel for 6 years, then died and was buried in Gilead. Ibzan. Ibzan, the next leader of Israel, came from Bethlehem. He had 30 daughters and 30 sons, and he let them all marry outside his clan. Ibzan was a leader for 7 years, before he died and was buried in Bethlehem. Elon. Elon from the Zebulun tribe was the next leader of Israel. He was a leader for 10 years before he died and was buried in Aijalon that belonged to the Zebulun tribe. Abdon. Abdon, the son of Hillel, was the next leader of Israel. He had 40 sons and 30 grandsons, and each one of them had his own donkey. Abdon was a leader for 8 years before he died and was buried in his hometown of Parathon, which is located in the part of the hill country of Ephraim where Amalekites used to live. Samson. Once again, the Israelites started disobeying the Lord, so he let the Philistines take control of Israel for 40 years. Manoah from the tribe of Dan lived in the town of Zorah. His wife was not able to have children, but one day an angel from the Lord appeared to her and said, "You have never been able to have any children, but very soon you will be pregnant and have a son. He will belong to God from the day he is born, so his hair must never be cut. And even before he is born, you must not drink any wine or beer or eat any food forbidden by God's laws. Your son will begin to set Israel free from the Philistines." She went to Manoah and said, "A prophet who looked like an angel of God came and talked to me. I was so frightened that I didn't even ask where he was from. He didn't tell me his name, but he did say that I'm going to have a baby boy. I'm not supposed to drink any wine or beer, or eat any food forbidden by God's laws. Our son will belong to God for as long as he lives." Then Manoah prayed, "Our Lord, please send that prophet again, and let him tell us what to do for the son we are going to have." God answered Manoah's prayer, and the angel went back to Manoah's wife while she was resting in the fields. Manoah wasn't there at the time, so she found him and said, "That same man is here again. He's the one I saw the other day." Manoah went with his wife and asked the man, "Are you the one who spoke to my wife?" "Yes, I am," he answered. Manoah then asked, "When your promise comes true, what rules must he obey and what will be his will?" "Your wife must be careful to do everything I told her," the Lord's angel answered. "She must not eat or drink anything made from grapes. She must not drink wine or beer or eat anything forbidden by God's laws." I told her exactly what to do. "Please," Manoah said, Stay here with us for just a little while, and we'll fix a young goat for you to eat. Manoah didn't realize that he was really talking to one of the Lord's angels. The angel answered, I can stay for a little while, although I won't eat any of your food. But if you would like to offer the goat as a sacrifice to the Lord, that would be fine. Manoah said, Tell us your name so we can honor you after our son is born. No, the angel replied. You don't need to know my name, and if you did, you couldn't understand it. So Manoah took a young goat over to a large rock he had chosen for an altar, and he built a fire on the rock. Then he killed the goat, and offered it with some grain as a sacrifice to the Lord. But then, an amazing thing happened. The fire blazed up toward the sky, and the Lord's angel went up toward heaven in the fire. Manoah and his wife bowed down low when they saw what happened. Although the angel didn't appear to them again, they realized he was one of the Lord's angels. Manoah said, We have seen an angel. Now we're going to die. The Lord isn't going to kill us, Manoah's wife responded. The Lord accepted our sacrifice and grain offering, and he let us see something amazing. Besides, he told us that we're going to have a son. Later, Manoah's wife did give birth to a son, and she named him Samson. As the boy grew, the Lord blessed him. Then, while Samson was staying at Dan's camp between the towns of Zorah and Eshtaol, the Spirit of the Lord took control of him. One day, Samson went to Timnah, where he saw a Philistine woman. When he got back home, he told his parents, I saw a Philistine woman in Timnah, and I want to marry her. Get her for me. His parents answered, There are a lot of women in our clan, and even more in the rest of Israel. Those Philistines are pagans. Why would you want to marry one of their women? She looks good to me, Samson answered. Get her for me. At that time, the Philistines were in control of Israel, and the Lord wanted to stir up trouble for them. That's why he made Samson desire that woman. As Samson and his parents reached the vineyards near Timnah, a fierce young lion suddenly roared and attacked Samson. But the Lord's Spirit took control of Samson, and with his bare hands he tore the lion apart, as though it had been a young goat. His parents didn't know what he had done, and he didn't tell them. When they got to Timnah, Samson talked to the woman, and he was sure that she was the one for him. Later, Samson returned to Timnah for the wedding, and when he came near the place where the lion had attacked, he left the road to see what was left of the lion. He was surprised to see that bees were living in the lion's skeleton, and that they had made some honey. He scooped up the honey in his hands, and ate some of it as he walked along. When he got back to his parents, he gave them some of the honey, and they ate it too. But he didn't tell them he had found the honey in the skeleton of a lion. While Samson's father went to make the final arrangements with the bride and her family, Samson threw a big party, as grooms usually did. When the Philistines saw what Samson was like, they told 30 of their young men to stay with him at the party. Samson told the 30 young men, This party will last for 7 days. Let's make a bet. I'll tell you a riddle, and if you can tell me the answer before the party is over, I'll give each of you a shirt and a full change of clothing. But if you can't tell me the answer, then each of you will have to give me a shirt and a full change of clothing. It's a bet, the Philistines said. Tell us the riddle. Samson said, Once so strong and mighty, now so sweet and tasty. 3 days went by, and the Philistine young men had not come up with the right answer. Finally, on the 7th day of the party, they went to Samson's bride and said, You had better trick your husband into telling you the answer to his riddle. Have you invited us here just to rob us? If you don't find out the answer, we will burn you and your family to death. Samson's bride went to him and started crying in his arms. You must really hate me, she sobbed. If you loved me at all, you would have told me the answer to your riddle. But I haven't even told my parents the answer, Samson replied. Why should I tell you? For the entire 7 days of the party, she had been whining and trying to get the answer from him. But that 7th day, she put so much pressure on Samson that he finally gave in and told her the answer. She went straight to the young men and told them. Before sunset that day, the men of the town went to Samson with this answer. A lion is the strongest. Honey is the sweetest. Samson replied, This answer you have given me doubtless came from my bride-to-be. Then the Lord's Spirit took control of Samson. He went to Ashkelon, where he killed 30 men and took their clothing. Samson then gave it to the 30 young men at Timnah and stormed back home to his own family. The father of the bride made Samson's wife marry one of the 30 young men that had been at Samson's party. Later, during the wheat harvest, Samson went to visit the young woman he thought was still his wife. He brought along a young goat as a gift and said to her father, "I want to go into my wife's bedroom." "You can't do that." "When you left the way you did, I thought you were divorcing her. So I arranged for her to marry one of the young men who were at your party. But my younger daughter is even prettier, and you can have her as your wife." "This time," Samson answered, "I have a good reason for really hurting some Philistines." Samson went out and caught 300 foxes and tied them together in pairs with oil-soaked rags around their tails. Then Samson took the foxes into the Philistine wheat fields that were ready to be harvested. He set the rags on fire and let the foxes go. The wheat fields went up in flames, and so did the stacks of wheat that had already been cut. Even the Philistine vineyards and olive orchards burned. Some of the Philistines started asking around, who could have done such a thing? It was Samson, someone told them. He married the daughter of that man in Timnah. But then the man gave Samson's wife to one of the men at the wedding. The Philistine leaders went to Timnah and burned to death Samson's wife and her father. When Samson found out what they had done, he went to them and said, "You killed them, and I won't rest until I get even with you." Then Samson started hacking them to pieces with his sword. Samson left Philistia and went to live in the cave at Etam Rock. But it wasn't long before the Philistines invaded Judah and set up a huge army camp at Jawbone. The people of Judah asked, "Why have you invaded our land?" The Philistines answered, "We've come to get Samson. We're going to do the same things to him that he did to our people." 3,000 men from Judah went to the cave at Etam Rock and said to Samson, "Don't you know that the Philistines rule us, and they will punish us for what you did?" "I was only getting even with them," Samson replied. "They did the same things to me first. We came here to tie you up and turn you over to them," said the men of Judah. "I won't put up a fight," Samson answered, "but you have to promise not to hurt me yourselves." "We promise," the men said. "We will only tie you up and turn you over to the Philistines. We won't kill you." Then they tied up his hands and arms with 2 brand new ropes and led him away from Etam Rock. When the Philistines saw that Samson was being brought to their camp at Jawbone, they started shouting and ran toward him. But the Lord's Spirit took control of Samson, and Samson broke the ropes, as though they were pieces of burnt cloth. Samson glanced around and spotted the jawbone of a donkey. The jawbone had not yet dried out, so it was still hard and heavy. Samson grabbed it and started hitting Philistines. He killed 1,000 of them. After the fighting was over, he made up this poem about what he had done to the Philistines. "I used a donkey's jawbone to kill 1,000 men. I beat them with this jawbone over and over again." Samson tossed the jawbone on the ground and decided to call the place Jawbone Hill. It is still called that today. Samson was so thirsty that he prayed, "Our Lord, you helped me win a battle against a whole army. Please don't let me die of thirst now. Those heathen Philistines will carry off my dead body." Samson was tired and weary, but God sent water gushing from a rock. Samson drank some and felt strong again. Samson named the place Collar Spring because he had called out to God for help. The spring is still there at Jawbone. Samson was a leader of Israel for 20 years, but the Philistines were still the rulers of Israel. One day while Samson was in Gaza, he saw a prostitute and went to her house to spend the night. The people who lived in Gaza found out he was there, and they decided to kill him at sunrise. So they went to the city gate and waited all night in the guardrooms on each side of the gate. But Samson got up in the middle of the night and went to the town gate. He pulled the gate doors and doorposts out of the wall and put them on his shoulders. Then he carried them all the way to the top of the hill that overlooks Hebron, where he set the doors down, still closed and locked. Sometime later, Samson fell in love with a woman named Delilah who lived in Sorek Valley. The Philistine rulers went to Delilah and said, "Trick Samson into telling you what makes him so strong and what can make him weak. Then we can tie him up so he can't get away. If you find out his secret, we will each give you 1,100 pieces of silver." The next time Samson was at Delilah's house, she asked, "Samson, what makes you so strong? How can I tie you up so you can't get away? Come on, you can tell me." Samson answered, If someone ties me up with 7 new bowstrings that have never been dried, it will make me just as weak as anyone else. The Philistine rulers gave 7 new bowstrings to Delilah. They also told some of their soldiers to go to Delilah's house and hide in the room where Samson and Delilah were. If the bowstrings made Samson weak, they would be able to capture him. Delilah tied up Samson with the bowstrings and shouted, "Samson, the Philistines are attacking." Samson snapped the bowstrings, as though they were pieces of scorched string. The Philistines had not found out why Samson was so strong. "You lied and made me look like a fool," Delilah said. "Now tell me, how can I really tie you up?" Samson answered, "Use some new ropes. If I'm tied up with ropes that have never been used, I'll be just as weak as anyone else." Delilah got new ropes, and again some Philistines hid in the room. Then she tied up Samson's arms and shouted, "Samson, the Philistines are attacking." Samson snapped the ropes as if they were threads. "You're still lying and making a fool of me," Delilah said. "Tell me how I can tie you up." "My hair is in 7 braids," Samson replied. "If you weave my braids into the threads on a loom and nail the loom to a wall, then I will be as weak as anyone else." While Samson was asleep, Delilah wove his braids into the threads on a loom and nailed the loom to a wall. Then she shouted,
Well, I see I left the pockets at home. So I'm going to have to stop here. And I really wanted to get it done. I don't know if I can go any... No, I can't. I want pockets. I'm a pocket girl, so I've got to put this back in the bag because I didn't bring the fabric. I can't. Maybe I can. I guess I can cut some pockets out of something else because they're not going to be seen. Let me do that. I'm going to pause. The time is... We have 9 minutes left, so I'm going to pause it and come back. I'm going to keep you rolling, and I'm going to fast forward through it. Pocket piece. I can't believe I did that. Actually go to my bucket of scraps and see if I can find some.
"Samson, the Philistines are attacking." Samson woke up and pulled the loom free from the wall. "Samson," Delilah said, "you claim to love me, but you don't mean it. You've made me look like a fool 3 times now, and you still haven't told me why you are so strong." Delilah started nagging and pestering him day after day, until he couldn't stand it any longer. Finally, Samson told her the truth. "I have belonged to God ever since I was born, so my hair has never been cut. If it were ever cut off, my strength would leave me, and I would be as weak as anyone else." Delilah realized that he was telling the truth, so she sent someone to tell the Philistine rulers, "Come to my house one more time. Samson has finally told me the truth." The Philistine rulers went to Delilah's house, and they brought along the silver they had promised her. Delilah had lulled Samson to sleep with his head resting in her lap. She signaled to one of the Philistine men as she began cutting off Samson's 7 braids. And by the time she was finished, Samson's strength was gone. Delilah tied him up and shouted, "Samson, the Philistines are attacking." Samson woke up and thought, "I'll break loose and escape, just as I always do." He did not realize that the Lord had stopped helping him. The Philistines grabbed Samson and poked out his eyes. They took him to the prison in Gaza and chained him up. Then they put him to work, turning a millstone to grind grain. But they didn't cut his hair anymore, so it started growing back. The Philistines gathered to celebrate their god Dagon for delivering Samson into their hands. During the feast, they brought Samson out of prison to mock him. Blind and humiliated, Samson asked a servant to place him between the two central pillars of the temple. He prayed to God for strength one last time and pushed against the pillars with all his might. The temple collapsed, killing everyone inside, including Samson himself. In his death, he killed more Philistines than he had in his life. His family later retrieved his body and buried him in his father's tomb.
I want to ask you a question. Who do the onions? Okay, so if you leave here and go to the restaurant and say, let me get a bacon cheeseburger and just walk off. Then you get home and they got onions, mustard, all type of stuff on it that you ain't know about. Whose fault is it? But who you gonna blame? You gonna get home and say, why you put all this stuff on my food? Like they supposed to know you. Stop being mad about the order you placed. Michael. No. This is powerful. Listen to this quote. We are anxious to improve our circumstances, but unwilling to improve ourselves. Therefore, we remain bound. This is powerful because it exposes a painful truth. What is the painful truth that this aforementioned quote exposes? Sometimes we ask God to change what is around us while avoiding the work he wants to do within us. That's good. Sometimes we ask God to change what is around us while avoiding the work he wants to do within us. Be careful. When you don't have clarity, your whole prayer request will be, Lord, fix what's around me. In a season where God is saying, I'm trying to fix what's in you. This is why when we tiptoe into the corridors of today's text, we find ourselves situated and acculturated in this pregnant Markan text. It is in the book of Mark, chapter 10, verse 46. It says, then they reached Jericho, and as Jesus and the disciples left town, a large crowd followed him, a blind beggar. That's all I need for today. It's too much in this scripture. We don't need the miracle right now. Let's just deal with this. A blind beggar. Let's pause and parenthetically digress. My professors at Yale Divinity, we argued for about an hour and a half over this statement. Why did Mark give us his name? I'm always built to think critically. They were laughing at me. I said, but why did they say his name? In other gospels, they just say a blind man. But in this gospel, they say a blind man by the name of Bartimaeus. And we settled on this fact that Bartimaeus, once he gets his sight, follows Jesus and almost becomes sort of an evangelist. He was blind. Jesus gave him his sight, and he lived his life helping other people see. So maybe Mark had to give us his name so when you see him in the future, you won't forget where he come from. That's why a whole lot of people can't stand you now. They didn't see your chapter 10, so when they roll up on your chapter 15, they think you got here overnight and don't realize God brought me from a mighty. But look at this now. He's not just blind, he gets two adjectives. He gets two blind beggar. Those are adjectives, right? What's the noun? Bartimaeus. What's the adjectives? Blind beggar. This is important because blind Bartimaeus was sitting by the road begging. Why is he begging, Pastor Mike? It's not on the screen. I'm going to say it slow so you can write it. Because his condition has shaped his expectation. That can preach. His condition shaped his expectation. His condition shaped his expectation. Bartimaeus had a problem. What's his problem? I'm going to say this slow because I really want you to write it. If his condition shaped his expectation, that's an indication that his identity had been reduced to what he lacked and how he could survive. If his condition shaped his expectation, that means his identity, who he felt he was, had been reduced to what he lacked and how he could survive. This is what I am trying to get people to realize about a lot of young people and about those of us who grew up in circumstances that weren't the best. They don't realize sometimes our condition shaped our expectation. One of the greatest interviews I ever seen was the interview with Tupac Shakur, and he was the reporter was asking him, "Why are you so aggressive and violent?" Tupac said, "Well, I tried my whole life. Imagine if we said, hey, imagine if I walked up to a girl and said, please, I'm hungry, will you let me in?" Then I came in singing, "Oh, I'm so hungry, please let me in." He said, after the 10th time, I'm kicking through the door, block, guns blazing, block, give me the food. He said, my condition matured my aggression. His condition shaped his expectation. Instead of asking, he was now conditioned to feel like he had to take. Which is why I personally feel you can't fight crime and not fix economics at the same time. Because a lot of crime ain't built just off of violence, it's built off of economics. So you're telling me not to do this, and I'm not condoning violence, but what I am saying is everybody who stole went bad. Sometimes the condition shifted their expectation, and now their identity is reduced to what they lack and how they can survive. So now instead of being faithful, Bartimaeus decides he has to hustle. So now he comes up with a hustle. I'm gonna stand on the road and beg for money. Because begging improved his moment. He don't realize healing would have transformed his life. Money could help him eat today, but healing would have changed how he ate every day. Y'all don't hear me in here? Please put this in your notes, because some of us keep asking God for relief when God wants to give us restoration. Michael, some of us keep asking God for relief when God really wants to give us restoration. Can we go deeper? Come on, church, can we go deeper? I'm gonna say it one more time. Some of us keep asking God for relief when God wants to give us restoration. This is powerful because it sits at the intersection of theology, psychology, and human behavior. This is powerful because it sits at the intersection of psychology, theology, and human behavior. In psychology, this is the distinction between, put this in your notes, proximal needs and ultimate needs. We do want to go deeper, don't we? This is the difference in psychology, because I have to mix my psychology with my theology. So in psychology, this is the difference between proximal needs and ultimate needs. Pastor Mike, what are proximal needs? Proximal needs, put this in your notes, is immediate relief of discomfort. Proximal needs are immediate relief of discomfort. I want you to underline immediate in your notes. That's important. When there's a proximal need, you're saying, God, fix what is hurting now. What's an ultimate need? Long-term transformation of the condition. It's not just immediate, it's immediate relief. What is ultimate? It is long-term transformation. Go back to Proximo. Proximo is pain medicine. Ultimate is surgery. Proximo is fix my runny nose. Ultimate is get rid of the flu. A lot of you are stuck in cycles because you spend all day asking God to fix your proximal and don't realize if he fix your ultimate, you won't have to deal with your proximal ever again. Michael.
Say it.
Hear me when I say this. Blind Bartimaeus asking for money is a proximal response. He done figured I don't beat people up. I got that from my past. He said, I'm not to beat you up, church. I'm to pick you up, church. So I'm not going to be. This is what most preachers miss it. And I can't believe it. Man, y'all got to be ashamed of yourself because some of y'all acting like Bartimaeus around here begging and I don't need nobody to do nothing for me. That's a lie. Life will take you through some stuff. I'm going to say this. And have you doing some stuff you thought you would never do. Don't even look at your neighbor because I don't want them in your business right there. Keep looking straight right here. I'm going to say it again. Life will have you doing some stuff that you swore you would never do. And now he's asking people for money instead of healing. So here's what I'm supposed to do. Why he ain't asking people for healing? Maybe he started out saying, help me, and realized they couldn't. So now he figured I might as well get paid. This is why people can stay stuck, because they become conditioned to solve today's pain instead of tomorrow's freedom. This is why people stay stuck, because they condition themselves to solve today's pain instead of pursuing tomorrow's freedom. This is what psychologists call, put this in your notes, learned helplessness. This is heavy. Learned helplessness. Learned helplessness is when repeated disappointment trains you to stop expecting change. Michael. Learned helplessness is when repeated disappointment trains you to stop expecting change. Learned helplessness is when you've been losing so long you stop expecting to win. When folk done lied to you so long you feel like you're supposed to get lied to. It's when folk done left you hanging so long you stop asking for help. It's when you start presupposing pain before you experience it. It's crazy. So in life, learned helplessness is a condition in which a person has been exposed to repeated failures, resistance, or opposition, and begins to believe that no matter what they do, it won't make a difference. So they stop trying, not because they're incapable, but because they feel ineffective. Leave that up there for a second. Learned helplessness is a condition in which a person, do me a favor, when you're writing your notes, I want you to underline exposed to. God gave me that at the 9 a.m. service, exposed to. Notice it didn't say experience, it said exposed to. Because there's a difference between what you experience and what you've been exposed to. This is why some of you need to do an inventory of your circle. Because everybody around you can be miserable so long, and you've been exposed to people being miserable, that you start thinking that's how life's supposed to be. It's what you've been exposed to. It's when mama didn't like her man, then your aunties didn't like their man. Now your friends can't stand their man.
Okay, that was the 30 minutes. I am going to continue sewing. I am in my zone right now, so I am going to get as far, I'll probably get to the zipper and stop because I'll have to watch a video. I don't do zippers that often, and yeah. So I'm going to keep going, and y'all have a wonderful, blessed day.